Welcome to the Fit Affiliate Podcast, where with honesty and transparency, we talk about all things fitness, coaching, and gym ownership, so that you can feel less crazy and frustrated and alone, while you also find more freedom and make more money.
Welcome back to the Fit Affiliate Podcast today with Mr. Chuck Bennington. How are you, sir?
Hello. I don't know. It's an interesting format since we're so early on in this. I'm like, I don't know. Do we continue to intro ourselves as we go? Or is it just like, hey guys, it's us again?
Yeah, we'll figure that out as we go. It always feels weird to say something.
Right.
So I thought I'd have a chat to you, given that you've got a long history in CrossFit, but in particular about your journey as an affiliate owner when you used to own an affiliate.
Yeah.
So how long tell me about the affiliate that you owned and how long that you had that?
So we owned Seaward CrossFit in Sarasota, Florida, and funny little piece on the name. Well, it was anyway. I don't know. I can get there. I'll start with the story because stories are a good way to start anything, right? So I don't know when you affiliated, but it was probably at a point where like you could still use like some zip codes, area codes, stuff like that. And we had kind of missed that train because I was busy running other people's gyms and coaching in other people's gyms. And by the time we had affiliated, it was really into like the heyday of the growth explosion, but they had already pulled off the ability to use like city, state, area code, or zip code because they convey too much search engine optimization advantage for somebody in a local market. So I think it's a good decision. And so like kudos to anybody that was an early adopter. That's a good thing that you guys all earned, is that you were early enough into it that like you should have something to represent that legacy piece of being somebody to try it early on. Anyway, we had obviously like missed that window, and so anybody that's set up an affiliate probably in like the last 10 years or so knows the absolute like dick dance of trying to find a name that's not too close to like a current name, a past name, but you can't do like this whole list of like things that come off. And so Seaward CrossFit was probably off of our fourth or fifth sequence of emails back and forth with HQ, just trying to find a name for the licensing agreement. And Seaward, as in towards the sea, made sense because we were moving from Texas to Florida, which is where I grew up, to open the gym there. And one of the guys that had started as a client that I was coaching at GSX CrossFit in Fort Worth, Texas, he was heading out there with us to really help get it off the ground, Mr. Dane Wilson. And because they were all written conversations with CrossFit headquarters, they were all typed out full format in email. And Seaward was SEAWARD, as in toward the sea. And it wasn't until after the license agreement had got approved and after we had paid all of our dollars and after we'd signed like a first last security, I was out coaching a seminar for CrossFit gymnastics at the time. Very excited that like, yeah, we just got approval. We're about to actually like open our first gym. And I was like, oh, what's the name? We're like, Seaward CrossFit. And it was like a DJ like stop the record. It's like, and they're like, Seaward? Like the C word, they let you do that?
Yeah.
And it all came crashing down mentally because like we'd never even said it out loud to somebody that like wasn't one of us in the room, like me, my wife, and Dane. It was the first time like somebody on the outside looking in was like, maybe you guys missed something hidden in plain sight. And it was like, oh no.
Oh, oopsie.
And so usually at this point when I tell people that story, I make a great joke about the fish taco shirts that we didn't have that we should have. And then it usually takes a second, and then you get the chuckle.
Yeah.
So Seaward CrossFit was our gym, and it was in Sarasota, Florida. And we owned it for 5 years. 4 of those years was as real, like, owner operators doing the thing. First 3 years for sure, like much more involved. The 4th year had really gotten a pretty solid staff build out at that point. And then the 5th year of ownership was us actually in Austin, Texas. So 1 year, 100% completely detached from the gym with a full staff solution. So got to kind of ride all of the waves of it. Year 2 to year 3 in that gap, we had expanded the gym because we were trying to expand and we didn't want to lose a lease space for expansion, knock a wall down, but we couldn't afford the expansion as a business, but we didn't want to lose the opportunity. So also spent about a year actually living in our gym, and not in like the figurative sense of everybody's like, oh man, when you own a gym, you live there. And we're like, no, like our bed was there, our clothes were there, our kitchen, like we actually fucking lived in our gym.
Which is for a lot of the OG owners that was very common that they back in the day that people lived in their gym because they put everything into the business that they had.
Yeah, and it's
there, so it's like it's one
you
thing
don't
to
know what you don't
navigate
know,
Zoom
but at
calls
that
back to
stage,
back to
you're
back,
so
and you get lost
driven
in
by
like
the
the Zoom
passion
call.
side of
But it's
it
another thing to have to
that
run across
you'll.
campus
I
and
mean,
catch
you know,
podcast as
as
well.
Glassman say, if
I
men
was
will
like,
die for points,
hey,
it's like, well,
am I
what
supposed to be
won't you
somewhere?
do
He's
to
like,
put
shoot,
food on
what
the
do you
table
want?
and
I
keep
was
your
like,
dream
so,
alive?
no.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
So
not
this
something that you
almost-
die
this
for.
is
It's something
all
that you'd kill
off
for.
the
I don't
cuff,
know.
but
Luckily,
sure,
it never
what do you
came to
wanna
that.
know?
Didn't have to die, obviously. Never killed anybody for the gym. Nobody ever died in the gym, so probably irrelevant. But yeah, that's the for your very, very short question that I probably could have answered in a handful of words. There's a bonus story and then just some more rambling.
The story itself is
No, it's
pretty
not.
long.
It's not rambling. It's
a decade,
you know,
of my life was allocated
when you hear
to
about the journey of affiliate ownership, last year at the Torian Pro, I know Matt Swift,
it actually has a very funny original,
who was
an
one of the
origin
first gyms
story.
in Australia. He
OG.
talked about
There's
he talked about the journey
but
from like year one, and
that
it
aside,
described the
the
gym
day
as
that my
like your baby
application
and what
was
happens in
accepted,
stages. And we're
came
like,
through, et cetera,
yeah, like it's a toddler, and now it's a
Kathy called me and
teenager,
she was
and
like, hey, we
you know,
screwed
all
up.
these
There's
things.
actually
And the
another
way that you described that
one
journey
we
in those,
accepted. So,
5
fun
years,
fact there is there was
many
already
other
two of them.
affiliate owners would
In
resonate
exchange
with
for
that.
I was gifted
Absolutely.
with a lifetime
And
of discount
in that,
affiliate
you know,
ownership. So
wanting to
sorry about all
expand
you guys
before you're
have
ready,
to
but knowing you need to, don't want to miss the opportunity. I went through that
But,
process just
yeah, it was a decade of my life.
18
It's
months
probably
ago.
the
So
greatest
it's
10 years of my life.
it's that
At exact same
it's that
time,
journey of always trying to be better, you know.
Pre-affiliate ownership.
So
That's,
yeah,
you know,
that's
I've never.
of the seminars.
That's
for
funny.
me.
As long as I've been around
they really
this,
kind
I've
of
never heard
ran
anybody
parallel
kind of
with each
compare
other.
it to like
And
the
basically,
journey of a child,
after
and I
about
can for
4
sure see
years
that
of
through the
owning
lens of now
affiliate,
being a
it
parent
was
myself. Is
outsourced
with the
to
baby,
point
you're
where I could
infatuated.
focus
There's
pretty
nothing but
solely
possibility, and
on
it's
the
incredible. And
seminars.
like you're so in love with
And
it that
really
like
at
the
that
suffering
point,
is almost
I dumped
irrelevant because
myself
like the
passionately
dream
into
is
teaching
so
the
real.
seminars
It's so
and very
big in your
rarely
heart and
teaching
soul.
classes inside the gym.
Then you get to that
And so really,
toddler
like, the last
stage, and you're
5
like,
or 6 years of affiliate ownership, I really didn't coach many
man,
classes
I
'cause
didn't know what I
coached
was
so many
getting into. And then you
seminars.
get a kid, and you're like, okay, I figured
As
some
you'll
stuff
probably
out.
come to
Like
know
the
throughout
toddler
this
stage is a little bit of
podcast,
awkward
seminars
growing
are
pains,
definitely not a
and you make it
Saturday,
through like the
Sunday
early
thing more often,
stages of
especially
like
when
the
I'm heading to
childhood,
Europe
and then you have a
all
fucking
the time. Being in
teenager.
the Northeast makes me
And I
close to
think
Europe.
like is as
Ends up
the
being
analog,
there,
those
but
teenage
it was the
years
best.
really are
It was
like
the best
what truly
university that I
break
could have ever
most
truly
affiliate
attended,
owners.
and
I mean, I think
at
they
the
break
end
most parents, and I think they
of its
break
reign,
most
I
parent-child
guess you would
relationships.
call it, that's what I
You
was
know,
left to grapple with.
not something you would
what has the
strive
last
for,
10
but
years
certainly
been?
common. But
And
I think
if there's one
that's the
piece of
hard
it, I
part is like
suppose that every affiliate
navigating
owner
those
should know is
teenage
that
years of like
it's
identity
not
for the
easy
gym
to
as a
own
culture
it, but
community,
there's very
identity
few
for the
places that
owner
I'm
as
aware
like
of on the
an
planet
actual
where you can
operator.
harness the skill set that you
It
can
is not
learn
an
as an
easy place
affiliate
to be in.
that will enable you.
No, and I think
for
that's why they tend to
really
find that
quality
around that
individuals
10-year mark,
So
affiliate owners
doesn't
either
necessarily
tend to,
answer the
you know,
entire
want to
story
move
'cause
on
there's
or,
so
you
much to
know,
go into it to be this
staff
long
it
of a
out and do
podcast.
other
Now I understand
things,
why
or just not be
solo
involved
on
at
this
all. It seems
podcast
to be
is
that
2 or
that bit of a
stories is
cycle
already
around
hard
that
enough.
that teenage year time frame.
Yeah. I mean, so like, yeah,
Yeah, go on.
interesting. No,
Yeah,
it's interesting, and it's really hard to at that stage, I think, uncouple yourself from the identity that you've built. The same way that like at some point you have to let your kids really fly, and you can't be the one that is so tight and controlling. And the more you try to hold on to everything, the worse the relationship gets. So I think that's a really good comparison, and I'm surprised that I hadn't really come across it again.
Yeah, no, it was a really, I think that they filmed it. They never really released it, but it was just such a resonating talk. Like you could see all the affiliate owners in the room going.
The whole story of the gym is centered around
maybe
a
never looked at our gym in that
conversation.
And then everyone, depending how long that they've owned it, we're like, yeah, here I am on the
in my
journey.
office,
That's
and I
why
had no
this is hard, or
intention
that's why
of teaching
something else might be a
helping. I guess we'll call the general population.
With Seawedge, what was
I wanted to work
in
with
your
athletes,
5 years? What was the absolute best part of being an affiliate owner for you?
And I was cornered in my office essentially by
best is hard. Best, I think, in a lot of ways, like a thing that I'm
I'd ever worked with somebody like her
favorites.
before.
It's like
in that conversation,
what's your favorite food? I'm like,
will be burned into my brain for forever. And I was floored because I didn't understand.
I think maybe I can step away and get enough perspective that really the best is.
She was overweight,
and it's a thing I talk about with affiliate owners regularly.
Her being overweight, and
we will never be the ones
had led to her
who lie
having
on our deathbed,
lots of health issues,
if we were ever
most notably bad knees, and so
we
she
will
was
never
curious if
have
I
to
could
question
truly
whether or
help
not
somebody
we
like
actually
her.
created some level of impact.
I was floored because at the time
through the course
she was
of
only
human history,
really
billions
in her
and billions and
early
billions
40s,
of
if I
people
remember
that will
correctly,
never have the
and I was
opportunity
blown away that
to know that they did a
she
thing
had
that
really.
mattered.
I was a
And
nurse,
the first time
and
you watch,
had
like,
really, truly,
even something that seems
basically
as
just
minor as,
written
like, that
off the rest of her
pull-up.
life, and was almost
But
in
you
a
know
lot
what
of
that
ways
means and what it leads to,
kind
that,
of
like, you
waiting
instill
to
like
die and had
belief in people who
really
didn't
any
believe
hope. And so when
themselves,
she saw what I was
confidence in people
doing,
who
she
have
was like,
never had it before,
maybe
like
he can help me.
self-esteem.
And at that point, that's when I
First
was
time in
like,
someone's life in like their 30s
oh yeah,
or
this
40s,
is
like,
100% where I'm supposed to be.
And those are just
that
the
kind of
feels
changed
things.
everything
That's
for
not
me.
even like the objective
And
side of
so,
like, yeah, I had somebody lose 100 pounds.
just
I
like
saved somebody's
becoming
fucking life.
an
I would
athlete,
venture to
you
guess
become a
that
better
most
athlete by being a
people,
better coach.
if
In
they
so many
knew
ways, you become a better
objectively,
human by
quantifiably,
being
that
a
they
better
had
coach.
saved
And so
a human's life, they would ride that.
there's a lot
for
of
the
things I
rest
would
of
have
their
changed
life.
about the affiliate, but the
You know,
one
like
thing
Johnny
that I
Lay Public,
definitely
the
attribute
accountant.
most to the affiliate
He's the
is
first
making me
one
the
on
person
scene
that I
in
am
a
today.
car accident. He
So,
pulls a guy out
yeah,
right before the car bursts into
guy,
flames.
but
That
respectfully,
guy's
my
like,
coaches
holy
were
shit,
far
I
better
saved
than I was,
somebody's
so I was
life.
rarely ever there. It was just the
I
impact that I was
saved
able to
somebody.
make in such a short period
And
of
he's
time
got
on
that
so many
one,
people.
and that's probably enough to carry him for the rest of his life, as well it should be. Because, like, at what point is saving another human's life not something that's pretty fucking special, but, like, to think about the impact and significance and magnitude of that over and over and over again, hundreds of clients, thousands of interactions.
I don't think anybody is ever really truly prepared for any business, right? I mean, I've owned several businesses over the course of my life.
So that, I would say, is the best
admittedly,
part.
on paper,
awesome.
the affiliate
and
seemed like
I
the
would agree
biggest
wholeheartedly
no-brainer, right?
when you,
like,
despite sometimes when
how
things are
hard can it
hard
be?
and you look around and you're like,
right? I mean,
I'm doing good in the world.
You do
like,
all of the logistics and all the planning, and you write the business plan, and
wouldn't
you
have
put
good outcomes
the financial
if
projections
the space
together. You do all
wasn't
these
here
things, and
we weren't here in this.
No matter how much you prepare for, the thing you never prepared for is the people. It's good to keep
that perspective sometimes.
Right? And like the joke inside affiliate is people be people,
and
like
we're doing at times even when it doesn't feel like
although
it.
it's comical, is probably
and
the hardest part of the affiliate is that
the counterpoint
you
that very much so
you chose to go into business,
right? Because when the scales are so high, and when you are doing,
I don't think anybody is really prepared
so
for that when they first do it, because they make
it's really easy to let it
they're
turn
going
into
into
an
the fitness
abusive
business, and they're going to teach
like,
fitness, and they're going to do workouts, and they're going to be the fittest they've ever been, and all these things, and then
you don't want to compromise it, and so that's like the delicate balancing.
They hold your email account hostage.
Yeah,
right?
cool.
They just your phone blows up at 11 o'clock at night or 2 in the morning because they're upset about the workout, and they're worried if the storm is going to prevent them from being in the gym, and you're like, I'm just trying to sleep as long as I can to be there for that class,
just for emotional reasons as well.
So there's just so much of it you're just not prepared for. Right.
And then, like, the recognition,
I think for me,
life is a series of moments that we
that's the lessons that came out of the gym,
even if you
was learning how to deal with and work with people. But man, was I underprepared for that one.
Moving forward.
For sure.
So I guess on the flip side of that, to counter that, what was the hardest part for you about owning the affiliate?
An endless series of identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, everybody would be intimately familiar with that, is that just navigating, the transition of, like, coach to, like, somebody managing humans, from somebody managing humans and coaching to actually owning a business, to when you do actually truly own it as a business.
My origin story is like
a year
many
that we
people,
weren't
right?
involved,
CrossFit changed my
you
life.
just have this thing that presents, like,
it's responsible for me being essentially
on your end objectively
half of the human that I was almost 40 pounds different, and not for the lack of trying.
When you're not
so
a
it
part
changed
of
my life, and so I think, like most people, you run in and be like, I got to do this for other people.
On the side of the
you never stop to think to, like,
it doesn't mean that those things aren't
they
happening,
have
and
their
that's a
own
big
unique
struggle
experience.
that you no longer
Sonder is a very real
feel.
thing as it applies to
It's
fitness,
a
and I don't think many people are
thing. You
prepared
no
for
longer feel that you're a part of the best pieces of it, and it's easy to lose sight that, like, none of it would have existed if you weren't the one that, like, put that wet ink on that dotted line and just fucking sent it.
Yep, I understand that. So 5 years is not an insignificant time to be involved in owning your affiliate, and you've had thousands of days of interactions with people. What do you think, if you reflect, was your biggest mistake that you made as an affiliate owner, or something that you think, man, if I'd done that so much differently, it could have completely turned everything on its head?
Oof. Probably it's a piece that relates more to a deficiency in a coaching skill set that would have amplified and magnified the success of the gym and like made us go a whole lot further, a whole lot faster. And that's not appreciating sales as a skill set. And I think that's lost on a lot of coaches, because as soon as they hear sales, they're like, negative mental association. It's like, no, dummy. Every time you try to tell somebody to squat deeper, you have to sell them on that. Every time you're trying to get them to throw a wall ball higher, you're trying to sell them on that. And so that's easy to reframe on the client side, but you need to hire coaches. Cool, you need to sell them on working. Probably the important thing in it is that on the standard owning an affiliate, you need to sell them on the vision.
Is really actually hard to get wrong. It's really pretty easy to do. No matter how poorly you do it, you're still going to be effective at doing the thing, which is changing people's lives. Even the worst gym I've ever been in still has handfuls of humans.
Normally on day 2, I stay at lunch just to hang out and bullshit. Mostly it's me ranting on the state of the industry.
It just happens to be really, really hard to get it really right.
You guys need to be way less fucking worried about your L3.
And so I think that is one of the things that has led to so much pain and suffering in the affiliate model, is that
L4,
even when done poorly, it's still done
and you're like
well.
King Kamehameha fucking
and
coach.
that allows people to,
if you don't know how to
stick to that identity of suffering for such a long time,
all of those letters
before they really just
and all of those
they crystallize that
and all
discontent,
of those thousands of hours of CEUs and studying.
Yeah, it's not one of those things where you can't really ever get it wrong. It's like exercise in general. There's no bad exercise. There's just better.
Those are the missing.
There's no bad affiliate. There's just better ones.
That is the thing that I would frame as probably my one big
mostly not.
Oops that would have really helped everything. And even negotiating a lease. Holy shit, you don't know what you're getting into when you sign your first lease. You just take it right up the bum with a sandpaper covered, I don't know, dinosaur. Something that doesn't even make sense, because you just don't understand the nature of the game that you're playing. And it's disproportionately beneficial as a business owner, but also a coach and just a human.
Yeah. And too, when you start out, you're just excited that, I've got a space, this is happening, it's turned into a real thing. I'll just sign this and not be worried about, all the little details. And it starts to add up. Then once you start to adult with it, and you're like, oh.
Well, you do make a very gross set of assumptions.
If you've been an affiliate owner, you've probably been in a situation where your clients have visited another gym and they come back and they tell you just how great it is.
That was a big failure for sure.
That should be the greatest compliment.
There's a lot of people.
Respectfully, most adversely to that, there's a lot of people who are also completely unaware of how much better it is outside of their affiliate.
Tony, to catch you up.
Even though they are unaware of
Welcome, Tony.
What they're still getting.
This is a fuck up on my behalf. And so just so you guys know, if any of you guys are listening to this near early in the game, me and Tony we've been working together as business partners in some context for over a decade. We've both been in this for a very, very, very long time, and I forgot to send him the link to the podcast. And so anyway, just fucking send it. But Lisa had asked me, well, I'll let you ask. Lisa, you're the one facilitating. Don't let me be a dick.
So, Tony, we're talking about,
the answer is everything.
Owning an affiliate and some of the things that go along with that.
I don't think it was designed to be here today.
About his
and maybe that's one thing I probably would have changed.
So,
it didn't
do you want to share your
it didn't have an end game.
Affiliate owner story?
At least not as I had designed it. It really was just like I think many affiliates was designed to just do the thing. Right, for as many people who was willing to do the thing with me, and there was no end game, and so that's probably maybe one part of it. I think I could write the master class on what to do wrong in an affiliate, and I'm grateful that I did, because it's really what allowed me to constantly reflect on
a little bit about the affiliate that you owned, how long you owned it.
In so many ways, I would never say that we were the greatest thing on the planet. It was the greatest thing that I could create. And And so many of the things that I think were problems were really just problems of exposure for me. I didn't know any better. I was absent of ideas. And, that's really where Fit Affiliate was born from, was that like, we don't want to give you guys any advice. We just want to help you come up with better ideas, because had I had something like that, that probably would have changed things quite a bit. And for me, losing the identity of affiliate ownership definitely left the hole in my soul, more so than I thought it would, to be completely honest. It was like the greatest day of my life, actually, and also one of the worst ones, because once I had purged all the stress of the decade of affiliate ownership, life was good. And then I was like, whoa, who am I? Like, I'm showing up at these seminars each week and like, I used to be like you. Now I'm no longer like you. Hi. Right. And so there was a big problem in all of my mistakes, all led up cumulatively to the point where, it doesn't exist anymore, in a good way. But respectfully, if I could have done it all over, I would have probably changed all of them, because I don't think that I would have ever willingly got out, potentially, if those things were different. But I was on a different trajectory, and the gym wasn't designed to support it. So if I could change one thing, if there was one big error, it would have been designing the end game. Well, that question has become so cliche, right? Like, I mean, you've been asked a million times disingenuously, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Do you care? Right? So like, normally the people who ask you could really give a shit about the answer. And so it has become probably one of my favorite questions that we do ask people
origin story stuff
when they come in,
but,
is,
as a side
and
note,
the reason for that is
closer
because it's
to your
personal
mic.
to me.
But yeah,
it's
really
my
the
job
the
from
frame
the
is
day that
just
you trust me
primarily
with helping
lessons
you
from
to make
affiliate
sure
ownership. So
that you're thinking
Lisa
about
was
the
just kind of
end,
getting some context
because
of like
it's
our gym owner
impossible to
stories,
think
and
about
now she's
anything
got an
except
even
for the
better
fighters,
question
right?
for you
And
that makes
so
it more fun.
somebody has to remind you guys that all things come to an end, and what does that look like?
Your journey as an affiliate owner, what was the best part for you about owning the affiliate?
Preparing it for sale, not with the intention of selling it, but I was ultimately graced with the reality that like, it's not a business until you can sell it. Don't need to sell it. And so one of the questions that always blows everybody's mind when we ask them is like, can you sell it? And everybody's like, why would I want to do that? Or else they'd be like, yeah, I mean, it's not worth anything. But the reason why you have to ask that question is that if you're not preparing it for sale, you're not talking about the future. And so it is one of the pivotal changes that I think happens for most people. And they just need to understand that, when you talk about the end game, it doesn't necessarily mean terminal, but it's got to have a succession plan. Who's coming after you? What are you going to do? You're not going to do it forever. Nothing lasts for forever, right? And so, like, what if you get, another joke is, what if you get hit by a bus, right? It's one of the things that we ask all the clients, and like, most of them are met with the reality that like, well, the gym would fail. That can't happen. There's too many people that live and trust that gym, and like, to this day, I still get phone calls from old clients who just are still heartbroken because they have not found themselves back on their feet in a new home. Most of them have found their new routines and whatnot, but I still get messages and I'm like, I don't even know how to process those. They're the most backhanded thing that I could get, because I'm like, or I still see parties when they all get together and they have like gatherings, and it makes me happy in one hand, and then I'm like, what kind of asshole am I that I took it all away from them? And I'm just, for me, that's why it's personal, and I'll make sure that it never happens to anybody else ever again. Yeah, I mean, if there's one common strand in like so many seminars, it's always, Cindy and Kathy who are there together because we just bought our gym. And I'm like, oh shit, you are so not prepared for what you have just done. And it happens every single weekend.
To take the flip side of that, and this is where you sort of jumped in on Chuck, but what was the hardest part? Yeah. Yeah.
I might save a burger restaurant or two, just saying, because I love me some burgers. So if it was, I'm in a different place to do so. Yeah, I mean, not to belabor that question. It's just that I don't think any affiliate owner truly knows just how far affiliate ownership will take them. In terms of skill set and advancement and just learned lessons. You're not set up to think about it that far in advance, and so you are left with a situation where, if you're not careful, the whole thing runs away in a good way, to the point where it's like, now the gym is actually in the way, and now you got a bigger problem, right? Because like you can't advance yourself and continue to follow your path and purpose,
like
because the gym is ultimately a giant restriction to that.
And like nobody's
so
like,
you're left
hey,
with the reality.
do you want to share fitness with people, or do you want to own a business?
My reality. And
like if that question
make the decision,
singularly existed early in the process,
if it doesn't feel selfish. But
I hadn't thought about it. And like that would have been enough.
When you're in the thick of it, it never feels like much.
Sure,
but when you stop and you look back when all of it gets quiet,
love it. But I think
there's no place on the planet
I know there's an endless number of affiliate owners who suffer immensely.
And so because of that, you are grossly unprepared for the person you're about to become.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yep. And it definitely is a challenge. I often say that, when I'm joking, going, open an affiliate, they said, change lives, they said, but they don't tell you all the other things that go, along with it. It's, when you're having a baby, no one tells you all the horrible parts about, having the baby.
Well, and you know what, like maybe to some degree that's by design. Because I would venture to guess that if Greg let in with like, hey, I know you guys want to share fitness with everybody, but here's what the sleep and the flights are like. Here's what it's like to fucking put down a first, last, and security. Here's like what it feels like to write the biggest check that most people have ever written in their whole life, and open the doors and have no fucking clue how they're going to repeat that same process in less than 30 days. I think that it's just like fitness, right? If you sold somebody on the features of doing CrossFit, they would not be very interested to be like, no, check it out. You're going to tear your hands. You're going to throw up. You're going to buy a bunch of ridiculous shoes that you can't really wear anywhere in adult life without looking like an asshole. You're going to watch people exercise as a spectator sport. Like, no, you have to look at the benefit side of it. And so really is like, if you want to share fitness with people, then at some point you have to figure out a way to do it more than what you can do one-on-one. So owning
they keep everything on life
an inevitability.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why we always ask you guys, what do you need to stop doing to be successful, right? Like in the professional world and the systems and engineering world, the biggest problem, the biggest risk is that an engineer will over-engineer something just to keep it alive,
with the
right? Because they have
even
to
if they don't have the skill set to
focus
run
on
it
when
well,
really
they
the answer
have
is
the right intention.
it probably should have just been killed long
do
ago.
No harm.
And the big thing for affiliate owners,
like that's
is
the thing, is
common. So many of you guys are just still
like,
doing shit because you've always done it, that you're not free to try something new.
Up. I mean, in the time that Tony and I have traveled literally the entire planet, like we've seen the best of the best,
to remind
the worst
everybody
of the
that
worst,
it's okay for it to end. Everything
when
does.
You are doing constantly
right? So much affiliate ownership is fear control,
in a group
right? And controlling variables.
Community and
they're not afraid to let anything
like
end, so they just keep so many plates in the air.
It's impossible to not make.
They're just always trying, and so they're so busy just trying to keep all those plates in the air, they can't put their eyes on the horizon. You got to stop, and that's why that question is so important. Is what do you have to stop doing in order to be successful? And that doesn't mean like take a break. It just means like you're for sure doing a lot of things that aren't necessary, that one, somebody else could do for a fraction of the time and energy. And three, they probably don't need to exist to begin with. You've just always done them. Programming, Lisa.
Yep. So over the time, this was the big question for Chuck as well. Like, when you're an affiliate owner, if you look back and reflect, what would you think is something that you would do over, or your biggest mistake in being an affiliate owner? I mean, there are probably many, as all of us have, but something that really still sticks with you today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, busy is a defense mechanism. And if that's not the hardest, heaviest cross to bear, once you realize it, you're like, oh, damn myself. And it's just fun to watch you guys all work through it, ourselves included, right? Like we all do it. We build up these ivory towers of busyness. So we're like, look at how busy I am. I'm like, great. How productive are you? I didn't say that. I said busy. Just lessons that nobody could have prepared you for, but they're funny to look back on. I mean, 99% of the decisions that are made in an affiliate are reactive, right? I mean, and this all goes back to the end game. Until you know where you're going, you're just going to react to the problems that you have. And so many of them are just like, hey, you want to coach a class because like,
and that's something
my wife's
that,
giving birth this weekend.
I don't think any of us think about when we start, because
they happened to coach and there was no fires, and they were like,
And then even
coaching,
when you're really like in the shit,
that conversation plays out in so many different variations.
The next client
that's
in, or stop that one.
I wouldn't say it's a problem.
It's just one coach.
It's a force of necessity in the affiliate model. Just everything is reactive.
The idea of
very
few
where affiliates
are
truly proactive, and
it's so funny when we ask people that
all those plates are in the air.
Calls. It is for sure a deer in the headlights, and they're like, 10 years. I'm trying to make sure this thing's here next month. What do you mean 10 years? And it's like, right. Where do you want it to go?
Yeah, and I think we. Yeah. I mean, we talked about it in the last one, but I think that, fear becomes such a large part of the identity of affiliate ownership. And in that clouds their willingness to truly be individual and be unique. And I think that the thing that makes the affiliate model what it is its individuality. And like all things, when fear becomes the central operating system, it's very hard for you to think about being creative, being unique, being individual. You're just like, somebody give me the answers to the test. And I think that that's another big problem that affects everybody at the moment.
Side of it, at least for myself, is that like somebody that had started as a client, ascended to a coach, is now the one that like owns it. And so like that's very cool to see what the model provides for somebody else to have that like shift in their identity, and for a thing that like they just started as an exercise program be the thing that leads them into the ability to like carry the torch forward. Got to begin with the end in mind.
Boy, it sure would have been nice to have these questions in advance, but here I am now in the hot seat.
Had one of them this weekend. They're like fucking, I don't know, 6 months in, but it's awesome that the path exists. It's awesome that the model permits, because it's not like you go to your favorite burger restaurant and you're like, damn, this double bacon cheeseburger with some mushrooms and eggs on it, like, I'm going to start making burgers. Everybody needs to know how good these burgers are. And then if the burger restaurant's about to go under, they're like, nah, man, changing my whole life. I'm going to save this burger restaurant because these people also need these sweet potato fries. These are bangers. But like, fitness is too good. Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's so special and unique.
I don't know if I could do, the ability to have arrogant, like, but if I could do anything over again, I'd be me.
Side, transition them to some type of other
right
identity.
I'd be the person that I am now, the business owner that I am now, versus like, the business owner that I was.
The life lessons that fitness teaches us that transcend to
the gym for me was never meant to be a business. It really wasn't a thing.
To do things,
and so from that lack of
a lot of people, and that's
identity and that lack of decision came so many problems. But knowing what a gym could create and what it could do and what it could be, in hindsight, I would just start there. But for me, and I think like a lot of affiliate owners in the beginning, you're just happy to run some, most gyms start the same way, right? You do some fitness in your garage and then some friends come over. Next thing you know, you got an impromptu class going on. And then you're like, maybe we should get a space. And so like knowing what I know now, it would change everything about what I do. And really the opportunity that a gym could truly create, which I don't think that I really grasped nor respected back then. I mean, yeah, I would have bought the building. I would have, unloaded cash into other assets. I would have done things that like at the time I was just like, this is fun. Like, and then eventually it gets big and then you're like, uh-oh, this is a big boat now. I can't steer it by myself. And so that's what I would change differently. I would just know what the gym is capable of, and I wouldn't have winged it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can go catch my breath from running across the courtyard.
Talking more on that with about affiliate owners, what do you think is, I guess, the biggest struggle that affiliate owners have with developing that end game in mind? Like, in regards to succession plan and developing coaches for the future. Like,
it's because when you're fucking trapped in the middle of a forest fire, you're not planning your vacation to Jamaica. And it's, for a lot of wrong reasons. There's a lot of right reasons, a lot of wrong reasons, a lot of just like life happens. But a lot of the ego traps and pieces of identity where they tie themselves to everything, it becomes impossible to look at a future endgame. One, because there's so many fires to put out that they don't have enough mental peace and clarity to really forward forecast. But like when you're doing too much of all the things and you're bottlenecking every area of the business, the prospect of growing the thing even bigger and further, everybody self-sabotages, because all you're asking for is for the fires to continue to get bigger and more numerous. And you're like, well, if these are the number of fires that I have at 100 clients and 5 coaches, I surely don't want all of these to triple. And it's a really poor place to be in to make good decisions and to be able to like make decisions that really benefit the people that you're ultimately trying to serve. Because at some point, like when you're drowning, all you want is a life raft, but you don't look around. You're like, you know what? I can actually swim better than everybody in this shipwreck. I need to make sure I can get as many life rafts to as many people as possible. I don't know that really effectively answers it, but yeah, like there's just, they don't have somebody to ask them questions. And humans, humans are not developed enough evolutionarily to process our own ideas in our own heads effectively. Like the language is a technology, communicating with other people is a part of our human evolution. And like, that's a big piece of it, is because nobody's really asked like, hey, where is this going? And actually sat long enough in that uncomfortable quiet for them to be like, I actually have no fucking clue where this is going. Be like, cool, well, where do you want it to go? Not just like, it would be nice to pay the bills, but like if you had a magic wand and this all worked out perfect, where are you even trying to get to? And then it's crickets again.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly remember my first call with you guys, and you asked me exactly those questions, and I was like, I don't know, it'd be nice if it did this, so that, in 10 years, and you guys are like, So that's, 6 months, like what next, and they were very hard questions to answer.
Comments about to get lit.
Yeah.
I'm the best at programming in my city. Like, you got people, you could throw rocks at them and they would improve their fitness.
Yeah. And that's as an affiliate owner, that there's a lot of things in our conversations that I've had with you guys in my sessions about sessions. It sounds like psychology, about, hey, is this just something you're doing to feel like you're being productive and that you actually need to do, and things I've attached my identity to, such as programming, as well, I know what my people need. And, it's completely, when someone shines a light on it, you're like, oh, yep.
Well, and the only reason that we have the ability and capacity to do it is because, like, we are you. And like we have failed forward through all of it and intimately familiar with every piece of the struggle, and for sure not arrogant enough to like not give validity to it.
Yep.
Yep. I still remember sitting with Tony in Horgen, Switzerland, at an airport bar drinking beers while we were each going through our own independent tax shit show nightmares in our businesses. Mine was a bunch of back taxes. I don't remember Tony's, but in between sips of a delicious Stella, also looking at fucking clean percentages from the programming cycles that we were writing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, talking about the affiliate landscape and, owners, with the end game in mind, what do you think are some of the mistakes that affiliate owners make when they're, bringing on coaches, for example? Like, do you think that it's having a mindset of, these are people just to cover classes so I don't have to coach, 50 million squats? Or, should it be with a different mindset about, this is the foundation to take my business, forward when, I'm not part of it? Does that make sense? Yep.
That's good. Yeah, so aside from the reactive thing, I think like big major piece is not actually having a plan to truly develop the coaches, not just in their coaching skill set, but as actual pieces of the business and as assets. It's just very much like, this slot needs covered on the schedule and I can get you through an L1 in X amount of time. So like, bada bing, bada boom, here we are, problem solved. And there is also like a piece of like ego and arrogance attached to, like, most owners have far more experience and time in the game than most of their coaches, like, as they should more often than not. But looking to try to force square pegs into round holes to create little mini versions of themselves, even though like they actually aren't very good at what it is that they're doing. And there's a lot of unique talents hidden in coaches based on who they are as people that don't get an opportunity to be brought to the surface. The role of coach is really, like, I think, undervalued and underappreciated, because most do think like, okay, so you're there to like coach the class, great, whatever. Maybe it's 10 minutes before, maybe it's 10 minutes after to like, help foster relationships. But it's like, are you giving them clear metrics of success? Are you giving them a path of advancement and development? Are you interacting with them in a way that still conveys that like you give a shit and care about them? Like, for a long time, I was not super effective at coaching my coaches until it was reframed through the lens of like, I travel around on all these weekends to go and coach other coaches in the seminars. And at some point got kind of feelsy that like nobody's coaching me. And it was like the clouds parted and a beam of light just knocked me on my ass. And it was like, yeah, stupid. How much coaching of your coaches do you do? Instead of just like bitching about them about things that they haven't done.
Mm. Yep. Cool. All right. So just before we wrap up, if you had your chance again to open an affiliate, or you decided, yep, I'm going to go and open an affiliate, what's the first thing that you would do as, opening an affiliate tomorrow? What's the one, if you, knowing everything that you do and being through the lessons you have, what's the first thing you're going to do to set yourself off on a different trajectory?
Ooh. Well, nobody did. All right. So don't make me feel like a dick. No, this is cool. I think it's way more honest. I would have negotiated my lease like a fucking savage. Like that is like, I think the most tangible, actionable thing that really could create a disproportionate opportunity for success, because the financial hardship that exists in the very beginning when you are trying to like get everything done, it puts you into such a deep hole of like scarcity and fear that you lose the ability to make good decisions, and you build one of your most formative relationships on the dynamics of generally a not very healthy relationship, because most gym owners, their first landlord, they feel like they're peasants begging for scraps.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I think that's a great insight to wrap up our chat today. So thanks for chatting, guys, and look forward to the next one.
Same time next week.